Day number 11. Welcome back, everybody. Daily Journal video series. My name is Hervin. This is a video series where I'm documenting business lessons, life lessons, sharing anything that I find cool. Yesterday, I talked about how I was feeling super overwhelmed, how I lacked clarity in terms of the next steps that I need to make. And that's a lot of times how business feels for me. Today is a little bit better. I feel like there's some progress here, but still feels like there's lack of clarity, and it's mostly like a feeling. I'm not really sure if like, I feel like there are certain things that are clear, there are certain things that aren't clear. um Business feels a lot to me. Often it feels like there's like this forest that I'm going through. So like in the, like close to where I live, there's this park where usually during the winter, because it gets a lot colder over here, or a lot cooler, it doesn't even get cold, but where we live here in Florida, um, there's this park where there is a loop around the forest, and it's like thick, dense forest, and it's all muddy. And sometimes after raining, it's just impossible to go through it. But so anyway, I've gone through this forest, and it like after a little bit after it rains, it gets super muddy. And so you're stepping, and like your steps go really deep. And sometimes like as you're going through, you kind of have to stop like looking forward, and you just got to look down to see where you're stepping so that you don't like trip over something or slide or anyway, or step into like really deep mud. So that's what sometimes business feels to me. It just feels like you're going through the mud, putting one step in front of the other, and sometimes without even like knowing exactly where you're going. Sometimes it just feels like that's kind of like the direction, hopefully, and and so it feels like you're lacking direction, and you still have to move forward. You still got to keep the momentum going, but it doesn't feel like you're just cruising along or like making big strides. It just feels like you're crossing this muddy thing, and you're second guessing every step of the way. So that's kind of how it all feels right now for me. I've been asking myself, where is my time the most valuable right now? Where is my time best spent? And also, where can I find the highest leverage for my time? That's what I'm trying to figure out internally. It's just figuring out where I am best useful to the business. And because there's a lot of different projects right now that are big projects within the business, all sort of require my input. I know how to do all of them. It's this balance of I know I can go in there and start working on these projects that are meaningful, that are going to move the company forward. And I know I need to make progress in those. But then at the same time, if I start working on those things, if I start just making progress on those projects, it's me doing the tactical work. So me doing me putting in the effort, me doing in the work. And it's good. I mean, there's a lot of leverage in the projects that I am thinking about. So some of them is like building automations that are only going to have to be built once, and it's fine if I build them, But the thing is, it's going to require a lot of time and effort into thinking about it. And I was trying to think, okay, what is the best use of my time right now? Because we have an employee, he's extremely smart. I could also give him part of the projects and let him handle it, and just give him guidance whenever he needs it, or whenever he needs my input, if he needs my input. And I'm like struggling to find this balance between like wanting to make sure that I move forward really quickly and do everything that I need to do, and then also being able to delegate effectively, make the most use of our employees, and make them feel useful, and give them more responsibility, and like making sure that I am just coaching them and guiding them, and or if they need the help. And it's just this balance of like wanting to move really quickly, wanting to make my team useful, wanting want to give them more responsibility, and also trying to figure out like where is my input going to provide the most amount of output. Where's my, like, how can I invest 1 unit of time and get more output out of it? And one of the things that I was thinking is perhaps just putting down the vision and letting somebody in the team execute it is probably the best way to go. Now, the problem is like there are many different projects that require a lot of thought, and and I don't know when is the right time to get into them. If it's me who's supposed to get into building these projects, because we are also going to be hiring new people, and I don't know if I'm going to have the time to dedicate to like focus all of my attention into these new projects. I'm going to have to be focused on onboarding the new employees. I'm going to have to be focused on training them and making sure that they know what they're doing, so that they can also be useful. And that's going to require a lot of my time. And so there's building that needs to be done. There's innovation that needs to be done. There's new employees that need to be hired. And so that requires hiring, interviews that are one-on-one. It requires group interviews. It requires then, once we pick somebody, to go into onboarding them and making sure that we are every day checking in with them, making sure that they know what they're doing, getting trained. There is a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's hard to figure out like where is my highest leverage. What are the activities that I need to be focusing on to bring the highest amount of leverage to the company? And what do I need to do? What do I not need to do? So today I went through inside our it's kind of like a project management system. I have taken the time to categorize all of our ideas into priorities and figure out what are the ones that we actually need to get done, what needs to be put on hold, what needs to be assessed and done later, and all this stuff. So I was going through that kind of helped me get a little bit of clarity, asking the questions like where am I the most useful, where can I bring the most amount of, what is the highest leverage thing I could be doing? I also need to ask the questions like, what's the wrong thing to be doing right now? And perhaps the wrong thing is to be focusing in on the details as opposed to like focus on the vision and letting other people execute. So yeah, it's just a lot of confusion as to gaining clarity around what needs to be done, getting clarity around who needs to do the work and what is my role, and how do I need to be the one doing it? Do I need to be coaching others how to do it? Do I need to be communicating the vision and letting somebody in our team do the building? And anyway, yeah, so I've got a lot of questions. I feel like I am making some slight progress today with categorizing where we're at. I felt like anyway, gaining clarity is something right now super important. I feel that once we hire people and we have the team that we want on board, that's going to make it a little bit easier to start delegating, because it's not just going to be one person doing the building, and we're going to have more, ideally once they're onboarded, which is probably going to take like 2 months, we're going to have more time to be able to focus on the things that we need to do. So the way I feel is like we have all of these projects that need to get done, and I know they're going to be helpful to our clients, and I know they're going to provide a lot of value, and I know they're going to help us move forward a lot faster. There are many of those projects that need to get done, and my expectation is like we should be getting to them fast, but we're not, and it just feels really slow, and it just feels like it just feels like I want to do a lot, and I'm only doing like 1% of, or like 5% of what I really want to be doing. So I don't know, maybe just feeling impatient is part of owning your business and trying to do everything. It just feels like the thing that I think would take a year, it's actually like a 3-year thing. That's kind of how it feels. And so that's where we're at right now. Besides that, what updates do I have? Let me read my notes here. So we're moving forward with the hiring. One of the big notes that I took here to share with you all today is this idea. So in the past, how I've hired in the past is that we pay to start getting our job postings in front of people. And in my head, I'm like, I just want to pay and be efficient so that I spend the money to get the job posting in front of people, in front of candidates, get them to inquire. And, once we have a couple of good people, I'll stop it so that we don't spend more money than we need to. And so that we're efficient with the money that we're spending. And so that we, once we have a couple of people that are good, we could decide from those and then that's it. And so I stop it there. I don't spend any more money. I'm trying to be efficient as possible with, I only spend what I need to spend in order to get the candidates that I need, and then I stop it. This time around, I'm actually letting the postings, the job postings, the advertising for our job postings run there way more than, so I think we have already a lot of good candidates, but I'm letting this job posting still run and attract more people because, so a couple of things. Number one, I feel like I need to have an overflow of good candidate or an overflow of candidates. So that way I don't have like scarcity mentality that I have to just decide on somebody that I'm not really 100% convinced because that's all I've got. And I don't want, and then in the feeling of like, okay, well, in order to start getting more candidates, I would have to restart the process. That means I have to push the hiring even further back. And it just creates a lot of this feeling that, it creates this feeling of, you got to settle for somebody even though they might not be the perfect fit or they might not be the one that you really want, but you got to settle for them because you don't have you're not getting any more candidates. To restart the whole process will be a pain in the butt. And so in the past, we've gone through an entire process of hiring somebody. And once we had like 3 good people, we stopped the process of attracting more people and stopped interviewing more people. And then what ended up happening is that we went through the entire process. At the end, we had one person that was good, and at the end, it turned out like, for whatever reason, we didn't click culturally, like it wasn't a good fit, and we had to start all the way from the beginning. And it delayed us like a month and a half more than we should have. So anyway, now the lessons learned, you got to have an overflow. You can't stop the hiring process until 100%. You should still keep doing interviews. You should still keep talking to new people, keep the interviews going. Even if you have a few people that you found that are really good and you think you're going to be committing to those people, still keep the rest of the interviews going, because who knows, something, worst case scenario, if you end up hiring that person, worst case scenario, you tell the other people like, hey, we found somebody and sorry, it's just like, it is what it is. Because you might find yourself in the opposite role, in the opposite place, where you have only 3 people and you've committed to them, but then it turns out that none of them work, and then boom, now you're screwed. Now you got to start everything over again. So my philosophy now when it comes to hiring is just just overflow, create more demand than you have space for, because it's just gonna make everything better. If it puts you in a place of abundance, it puts you in a place where you're not having to settle for somebody that you don't really love. It puts you in a place where if it doesn't work out with the people that you thought it was gonna work out, you still have the process going. You're still like, you don't have to restart the entire process, you've already kept this going. So it's just a good practice. Something that I have found when it comes to hiring is just keep the process going, and like don't stop it until keep the interviews, keep trying to talk to people until you get to the place where you're for sure 100% sold on somebody and you offer them and they accepted, then reject everybody else. So that's what I am going to be following right now. Just wanted to document that because that was a lesson that has been hard learned. I've made the mistakes many times of pausing the hiring process too early, or pausing it when I thought for sure we had found people that were really good, and I thought, okay, you know, we could pause it now. And yeah, so now we're not doing that. We want to keep the process going. Okay. Besides that, let's see what else I wrote down today. You know, something. So I had 2 sales calls today with 2 people that jumped on and they were extremely skeptical. That I don't understand. I mean, you're showing up to a sales call. It's understandable if you're skeptical. There's a lot of people out there just kind of selling snake oil, if you will. But if you're jumping on a sales calls and these 2 people have heard really good things about us and you're jumping on and you're extremely skeptical, that's kind of weird. So I had that was my day today. I had 2 sales calls, I met with a team. I try to get clarity around what we're doing. Most of my day is just spent thinking and journaling about what are the things that I need to be focusing on, trying to get clarity around that. And, you know, usually taking action is not difficult. It's just figuring out what needs to get done is the hard part. Is just prioritizing and making sure that we're focusing on the right things. It's what I find difficulty in. And so, yeah, right now that's where we're at. Yeah, anyway, it's about to be 11 p.m. I'm going to publish this video. And I will see you all tomorrow. Follow along in the journey by subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you there.